You won't believe what happened in this courtroom. A self-proclaimed sovereign citizen, Shayna Marie Blackshear, stormed in claiming the court had no authority over her. From the very first second, she refused to follow rules, talked over the judge, and even tried to walk out of the courtroom multiple times. The officers had no choice but to restrain her, and the tension was through the roof. The charges against her were serious. She was found guilty of unlawful flight from a law enforcement vehicle, causing criminal damage, committing second-degree burglary, and resisting arrest. And it wasn't just one isolated incident. She committed some of these crimes while already on pre-trial release, which made the situation even worse. The prosecutor laid it all out, explaining that her actions weren't just reckless, they were repetitive and deliberate. But Shayna didn't back down, continuing to argue that she was above the law. That's when the judge, known for being no-nonsense, stepped in. One by one, each sentence was handed down, including 3.5 years for unlawful flight, 5.5 years for burglary, and 3 years for resisting arrest, with some sentences running consecutively. The total prison time. A serious wake-up call. Even when offered legal counsel for an appeal, she refused, showing just how deep her belief in these baseless, sovereign citizen ideas ran. The whole courtroom watched as her arguments crumbled, proving that trying to bend the law with fake legal theories doesn't work. This case is a dramatic example of what happens when someone refuses to play by the rules. The judge's ruling was firm, fair, and absolutely shocking, leaving everyone in the courtroom stunned, and sending a clear message: defying the law has serious consequences.
Presence of the defendant, our advisory counsel is here, and Mr. Wagner, are you appearing before the state?
Yes.
This is the time set for sentencing. Good.
Excuse me, how you doing?
No, I'm talking now.
Okay.
Listen to me. Is your true name and your complete name Shayna Marie Blackshear?
The court lacked jurisdiction over the subject matter.
What is your date of birth?
The court lacked jurisdiction over the subject matter.
The court will accept the court, based upon a verdict by the guilty in this case.
The court lacked jurisdiction over personal addiction.
As a result of a jury trial, the court finds the defendant is guilty in CR 22209. Count 1, unlawful flight from a law enforcement vehicle, a Class 5 felony. This is in violation of ARS 28624C.
Y'all cannot force me to get sentenced.
Yes, I can. ARS 28622, ARS 28622.01, A1, 28624C, 283001, 283304, 283305, 283315, 13701, 702, and 801. The date of the offense was on or about February 5th, 2022. The offense is non-dangerous, and I'm finding it non-repetitive for reasons I'll state on the record. Count three, that she is guilty of count 3, criminal damage, a Class 1 misdemeanor. It's in violation of ARS 13-1602A1, 13-1601, 13-707, 13-802. And she's also guilty of count 4, burglary in the second degree. This is a Class 3 felony in violation of ARS 13-1507A, 13-1501, 701, and 702, and 13-801. The date of the offense was on or about February 5th, 2022. Judgment of the court that she's guilty of count 5, resisting arrest, a Class 6 felony in violation of ARS 13-2508, A1, 13-701, 702, and 13-801. The date of the offense was on or about February 5, 2020.
Excuse me, advisor. Why are they allowed to do such things?
2022. The offenses are non-dangerous and non-repetitive. The reason I'm finding them is the microphone off, Louis. By the way, turn it off.
Excuse me, that's illegal. Y'all can't do that.
No, that's on now. Turn it off.
Yes, it is, Justice.
All right.
Personal jurisdiction over my
I'm
jurisdiction.
finding them
Why
non-re...
you do that? Why you allowing that?
I'm finding... You're your own lawyer. He's not your lawyer. He's nothing going to do it. I'm finding that they're non-repetitive because I believe that these cases, all of the charges in this case and in CR 2022-208, which is the prior case for which the defendant was convicted, these cases all of those charges could have been brought together and tried together, but they weren't. I'm not criticizing the decision. It is what it is. It happened for independent reasons, but I'm finding that they are not repetitive. All right. So,
I don't want to participate in this. Y'all have to let me go.
Mr. Wagner, do you want to be heard on behalf of the state?
I do, Your
Get
Honor.
out of here. I refuse to proceed.
And if the victims wish to be heard, we have victims here in the courtroom, a victim, I think, I'm not sure.
No, Your Honor. She's
No, they're not.
outlasted the victims.
So I'll ask the victim. Do you wish to be heard?
The victims have had to return back to their homes in Oregon, and they're not here, which is a detriment to them. They had as much a right to be here as she did for sentencing, but she is her own attorney, and she's drugged us out long enough that the victims aren't here to give a statement today.
Right, so y'all can't do that. Y'all cannot force me. Y'all can't sentence me like this.
Ms. Blackshire, I believe that these are repetitive and that she should be subject to the Category 2 repetitive offender statutes. She committed these crimes. She was taken into custody for the first crimes, the 208, Your Honor. She was taken into custody for 208. She made bond and was released on bond, and then she committed these separate offenses while on felony pretrial release.
I just want to make clear, to save your words, I do intend to impose the enhancement of 2 years for the crimes being committed while on release. So I just want to...
All right, thank you.
If there was any confusion about that, I wanted to straighten it out. I apologize for interrupting you, but I thought it was something to clarify up front.
This is illegal.
I believe that it's more than warranted. She was sentenced. Those were separate cases. She was released from those cases, and she committed the new cases. Not only did she commit these crimes separately from the other crimes, these crimes significantly, especially the burglary, I believe substantially affected the victim. The victim, the owner of the property at Morningstar Ranch. Yes, she was burglarized before. No real property was taken from there. As you heard, you sat through both trials. But in this case, in this burglary here, count...
Let me out of here. I don't have to proceed with this. Move. I don't have to.
Count 4, Your Honor.
Let me out now.
The defendant confronted the victim at her home and has substantially affected the way the victim feels about her safety and security at the home, which I think is very important, Your Honor, to acknowledge that.
I'm sorry. I'm getting... What's that?
Are you going to allow
No, I'm talking to you. Why are you taking her up?
No.
You're not? Okay.
Because I don't want to be in here.
Staying in.
Requested to leave.
Oh, you're bringing the chair in. Okay, that's fine. I apologize, Mr.
No.
That's fine, Your Honor.
I was getting signals from the defense.
That's fine. I also would point out to the court that the unlawful flight from law enforcement...
All right, stand by. Apparently they're going to restrain her and bring her back in. Thank you. All right. All right. Defendant is back. You may continue, Mr. Wagner.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would also point out to the court that count 1, the unlawful flight from law enforcement, and count 5, the resisting arrest counts, are not in any way connected with the prior the 208 case. They're separate victims there. These are definitely separate incidents. The state would argue that as well for count 4, the burglary, Your Honor.
No, I'm not relaxing y'all being illegal. The court lacks jurisdiction over the subject matter. Y'all don't have no right,
If I could have just a second, Your Honor.
I ain't never been violent with y'all.
What's the statutory reference to the 2-year enhancement? I can't remember that.
It is, I'm sorry, Your Honor, it is 708D. And I don't know that I made that entirely clear, but it just, whatever the sentence, the court prescribes, each sentence gets a 2-year enhancement.
Is that ARS 13-708?
Yes, I'm sorry, ARS 13708.
It's illegal.
But not as to the misdemeanor, obviously.
Not as to the misdemeanor. I concur with the misdemeanor assessment that probation had, that it's just time served in the county jail, that she's already fulfilled more than the requirement for that. I agree that the presumptive terms are warranted in the other cases as well, Your Honor. I would point out that the jury during the aggravation phase, the jury found 4 aggravators. They found 4 aggravators. We have no mitigators here that I can see. Even with all of that, I would still ask for the presumptive terms as a Category 2 repetitive offender with the enhancements for the 13708D. I think that these charges probably would be warranted to run concurrent with each other, but I do feel that they should run consecutive to the defendant's prior case. She caused more harm and more emotional stress to the victim, the owner of the property, and then we have separate victims as to the resisting arrest charge and the fleeing from law enforcement charge, Your Honor. I don't have anything more to add than that, and there's no victim's presence. There's some representatives, some neighbors, some people from the Morningstar Ranch that are still living in the area. They're present here today just to watch it.
Sentencing enhancement because this offense was committed while the defendant was on pretrial release, and that's pursuant to ARS 13708D. So the total sentence as to count 1, class 5 felony, is 3.5 years. As to count 2, this is the misdemeanor criminal damage. The court imposes a sentence of time served. As to count 4, again, the court finds this to be non-dangerous and non-repetitive. This is burglary in the 2nd degree, class 3 felony. The court imposes the presumptive term of 3.5 years. This court also imposes the sentencing enhancement pursuant to 13708D of 2 years. So the total offense level, the total sentence for count 4 is 5.5 years. As to count 5, resisting arrest, it's a class 6 felony, non-dangerous, non-repetitive. The court imposes the presumptive sentence of 1 year. The court further imposes the sentencing enhancement as required by law under ARS 13708D for 2 years, for a total of 3 years as to count 5. The court further designates that the sentence imposed on counts 1 and 5 are to run concurrent with each other. That is the unlawful flight and the resisting arrest. The sentences in counts 1 and 5 are to run concurrent with each other. The sentence imposed on counts 1 and 5 are to run consecutive to the sentence imposed on count 4. The court imposes the sentence imposed on count 4 in this case, which is burglary in the 2nd degree of 5.5 years, is to run consecutive to the sentence that was imposed in case number CR 22208. Right, so the sentence imposed as to count 4 in this particular case is to run consecutive to the sentence imposed in case number CR 22208. That's because this defendant was released in the prior case, 22208, when it was a justice court case. She was released when she posted bond on July 7th, 2021. She failed to appear and a warrant was issued for your arrest on October 20th, 2021. The events in this particular case are alleged to have occurred, I believe, on February 5th, 2022. So the events that happened at the Morningstar Ranch that were the subject of 222, Court of Appeals is very sticky with their rules. They're very strict, and this is a real specialty with someone who knows how to write good appeals. I met with you before when you were here before, and we met not in chambers, but in the holding cell area. It's all on the record, what I'm referring to, and I advised you that it really is in your best interest, I believe, to have a lawyer represent you on appeal, and you indicated at that time that you don't want a lawyer to represent you on appeal. I'd really encourage you to do it. I think it's in your best interest, but it's your choice. Okay.
You said I need what with that?
You're excused. You're remanded to the custody of the sheriff to be delivered to the Arizona Department of Corrections to fulfill a sentence.
How much
What?
time?
Hold on a second. What?
How much time did he give you? You just said a whole bunch of numbers.
Yeah, you can take them. You're excused. Thank you. Good luck. All right. I'm not having the defendant step forward to sign for notification of her rights and to sign the judgment in this particular case. She's consistently throughout all the proceedings in the Justice Court and in this court as to whenever required to do so or asked to do so, refused to sign anything. So that would be fruitless to ask her to do that. But the record will reflect that I've advised her of her right to appeal, the right to have an attorney represent her on appeal.
You won't believe the chaos that unfolded in this courtroom. Shayna Marie Blackshire, a self-proclaimed sovereign citizen, entered with a confidence that shocked everyone. From the moment she stepped in, she started insisting that the court had no authority over her. She refused to participate in the proceedings, spoke over the judge and officers, and even tried to leave multiple times. Her behavior immediately created tension in the room. Every time an officer attempted to guide her or explain the rules, she interrupted, arguing her point with a mix of anger and disbelief, as if the laws of the land simply didn't apply to her. The charges she faced were serious and reflected a pattern of reckless behavior. She was guilty of unlawful flight from law enforcement, criminal damage, second-degree burglary, and resisting arrest. And this wasn't a first-time offense. Some of these crimes were committed while she was already out on pre-trial release from an earlier case, which made the situation even more severe. The prosecution laid out the facts with clarity, emphasizing the repetitive nature of her offenses and arguing for enhanced sentencing. They pointed out that she clearly disregarded the law, tried to manipulate the system, and showed no intention of correcting her behavior. Even as the prosecutor presented the case, Shayna continued to challenge the court. She insisted the judge had no jurisdiction, she refused to take part in standard procedures, and she tried to leave, only to be restrained again. The courtroom became a tense standoff between her defiance and the judge's unyielding authority. The judge, known for being firm and no-nonsense, calmly addressed every interruption. She reminded Shayna that no one is above the law, no matter how convincing their claims might sound. Every attempt to derail the proceedings was met with patience and clarity, making it evident that baseless legal theories would not stand in this court. When the verdicts were read, the impact of her actions became crystal clear. She was sentenced to 3.5 years for unlawful flight, reflecting the serious danger posed by fleeing law enforcement. The criminal damage charge, though minor, resulted in time served, but it added to the overall picture of repeated lawbreaking. The second-degree burglary conviction, a significant felony, earned her 5.5 years, and resisting arrest added another 3 years. The judge explained which sentences would run concurrently and which consecutively, making the total time substantial enough to serve as a warning to anyone considering similar actions. Even after the harsh sentences were imposed, Shayna refused legal counsel for her appeal. The judge emphasized the importance of having representation, but she insisted she didn't need an attorney, demonstrating how deeply she believed in the flawed ideas promoted by the sovereign citizen movement. The courtroom watched as her arguments fell apart. Every legal claim she made had no foundation in actual law, and her defiance only reinforced the reality that attempting to bend the law with these ideas is futile. This case is a dramatic illustration of what happens when someone believes they can act outside the law. The judge's response was measured, firm, and completely unshaken by Shayna's outbursts. Each sentence served as both punishment and a lesson, showing that repeated criminal behavior carries serious consequences, regardless of personal beliefs or claims of immunity from legal authority. The courtroom experience left a lasting impression on everyone present, as it demonstrated how the justice system responds to individuals who challenge it with baseless theories. The narrative around the sovereign citizen movement is crucial here. People who follow this ideology often believe that conventional laws do not apply to them. They claim courts, police, and legal procedures have no power over their actions. But as this case clearly shows, those claims do not hold up in real courts. Judges, prosecutors, and law enforcement have systems in place to handle disruptions and ensure justice is served. Shayna's attempts to assert control over the courtroom were systematically dismantled, highlighting how these movements often lead to more trouble for those who follow them than protection. It's also worth noting how her behavior escalated the severity of her consequences. By refusing to cooperate, interrupting proceedings, and rejecting guidance, she made it clear that she would not adhere to standard legal processes. This defiance contributed directly to the judge's decision to impose substantial sentences, including enhancements for the crimes committed while she was already under supervision. The legal system is structured to consider both the severity of the offenses and the defendant's attitude toward accountability. In this case, Shayna's actions reflected neither responsibility nor remorse, which is why the penalties were significant. Throughout the hearing, the tension in the courtroom was palpable. Every interruption, every refusal to comply, every claim of immunity from the law added layers of drama. Viewer can imagine the frustration of officers trying to maintain order, the patience required by the judge to remain calm, and the disbelief of everyone else witnessing the unfolding events. And yet, despite the chaos, the process continued. Each charge was addressed methodically, each argument considered and rejected when unfounded, and each sentence clearly explained. By the end of the hearing, it was evident that Shayna's understanding of the law was fundamentally flawed. The legal system is not just about rules written on paper, it's about ensuring accountability, protecting society, and delivering justice fairly. No amount of arguing, interrupting, or claiming immunity can override these principles. The courtroom served as a real-life example of this reality. This story is more than just a courtroom confrontation. It's a lesson about consequences, accountability, and the dangers of following misleading ideologies. Shayna Mary Blackshear's experience shows that claiming to be a sovereign citizen does not shield anyone from the law. Actions have consequences, and repeated criminal behavior, combined with defiance, leads to serious penalties. The judge's firm response reinforces the idea that no one is above the law, and that attempts to exploit legal loopholes or spread baseless theories will ultimately fail. In the end, this case stands as a stark warning. It shows the importance of understanding the law, respecting the legal system, and recognizing that personal beliefs do not exempt anyone from responsibility. The courtroom confrontation was dramatic, tense, and at times unbelievable, but it also demonstrated the strength and fairness of the justice system in the face of defiance. For anyone watching, the message is clear: ignoring the law, refusing guidance, and relying on unproven ideologies can only lead to consequences that are unavoidable and severe.